In March 1994, the remains of 4 young women were found in eerily similar circumstances. Each had been viciously attacked and strangled in their own residences, the one place they should have felt secure. When authorities finally identified their suspect, they uncovered a ruthless killer who would be remembered as the first documented African-American serial killer. Those 4 women were only the start. The story of a serial killer is shocking enough, but Bad Henry, as the program is titled, chronicles the man notorious as America's first African-American serial killer. He was implicated in 90 deaths, convicted of 9 in Charlotte, and the link between his victims is astonishing. Between 1990 and 1994, at least 10 black women were discovered dead, all killed in the same gruesome manner. Yet the police failed to see the pattern. Whether due to negligence or something more troubling, they allowed the death toll to rise as the killer continued his hunt. Shockingly, he wasn't hiding. He was known to some of his victims, living openly among them. It took 4 agonizing years to apprehend him, raising questions about how many lives could have been spared had law enforcement acted sooner. The switch flipped, and I just started choking, and she passed out, the killer, Henry Louis Wallace, chillingly recounted, describing his murders with chilling detachment. Before delving into why he committed these acts and how he evaded capture for so long, let's first meet the women he spoke of, beginning with Caroline Love. Caroline, 20 years old in the summer of 1992, worked as a cashier at Bojangles. She was a dependable employee, having held the job for over 2 years. Raised in Charlotte, she was ambitious, having run track in junior high, graduated from Garinger High School, and enrolled at Central Piedmont Community College to pursue nursing. By June 1992, Caroline shared an apartment with her best friend, Sadie McKnight, who was also Henry's longtime girlfriend, at Derby Terrace on Central Avenue, near the Bojangles where they both worked. On June 15th, Caroline finished her shift and asked her manager to swap a $10 bill for a roll of quarters for laundry. He gave her the coins and she left the restaurant just after midnight. Unbeknownst to anyone, that was the last time she'd be seen alive. Henry was already inside the apartment, having let himself in with a spare key, knowing Sadie wasn't home. When Caroline entered, he greeted her warmly, acting as if he belonged. Then, without warning, he kissed her cheek. Stunned, Caroline, knowing he was her best friend's boyfriend, was shocked. To avoid escalation, she told him she'd keep quiet if he never did it again. But Henry wasn't one to accept rejection. In an instant, his friendly facade vanished. Before Caroline could react, he lunged, his hands gripping her throat. She struggled, but he overpowered her, forcing her into her bedroom, where he assaulted her. Despite her fierce resistance, his rage intensified. To silence her permanently, he grabbed a curling iron, wrapped its cord around her neck, and strangled her until she stopped breathing. Caroline was gone. To cover his crime, Henry wrapped her body in her bed sheets, stuffed it into a large orange trash bag, and dragged it to his car. Before leaving, he scanned the apartment, taking the roll of quarters she'd gotten earlier to make it seem like she'd vanished. He locked the door and left as if nothing had happened. Under the cover of darkness, Henry drove through Charlotte, searching for a secluded spot to dispose of her body. He found a remote ditch, dragged Caroline's body from the car, and abandoned it there before driving off. Hours later, Sadie returned home, oblivious to the horror that had unfolded. Everything seemed normal until Caroline's sister Kathy called, worried. Caroline hadn't been heard from all day, and Bojangles confirmed she hadn't shown up for work, an anomaly for the reliable young woman. Sadie tried to stay calm, but panic set in as time passed with no sign of Caroline. Desperate, Sadie, Kathy, and even Henry went to the police to file a missing person report. When officers searched the apartment, something felt off. Caroline's bedsheets were gone, furniture appeared moved, suggesting a struggle, and the roll of quarters was missing, yet her laundry hamper remained full. Despite these red flags, the police treated it as a routine missing person case with no thorough investigation. Time passed, and people began to move on. Henry, believing he was untouchable, felt his dark urges grow stronger. Far from a reclusive loner, he was sociable, a well-liked Taco Bell manager who built rapport with his staff. One of them was Shauna Hawk, a bright college student, unaware of her boss's deadly secret. 7 months after Caroline's disappearance, on February 17, 1993, Henry visited Shauna's home. She had no reason to suspect him when she answered the door. They chatted like normal co-workers for about an hour, even joking about Henry's issues with Sadie. But as Shauna walked him out, his demeanor shifted. He demanded intimacy, and according to Henry, she complied. Afterward, he ordered her to dress and go to the bathroom. Terrified, she obeyed. Once inside, Henry followed, strangling her until she lost consciousness. He then filled the bathtub and submerged her body before stealing $50 from her purse and leaving as if nothing had happened. By the time Shauna was found, it was too late. The police investigation was a failure, producing no leads or suspects, despite questioning her loved ones. Henry, unfazed, even attended her funeral, feigning grief among the mourners. Shauna's mother, who found her daughter's body in the bathtub, was devastated. She wrote a public letter to the unknown killer. "Dear killer, I am the mother of Shauna Denise Hawk. You murdered my only daughter in our home on February 19, 1993, between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. It's hard to believe a year has passed since that horrific Friday when her body was found in the bathtub where you left her." Henry was indifferent. Months later, he targeted another Taco Bell employee, 24-year-old Audrey Spain, who had just returned from vacation. Using his charm, he talked his way into her home for a casual visit. They spoke like friends, but when Audrey let her guard down, Henry attacked, demanding the combination to the Taco Bell safe to fuel his crack addiction. Audrey insisted she didn't know it, enraging him. He strangled her, assaulted her, and, after killing her, washed her body in the shower to erase evidence. He placed her on her bed, stole her credit card, and left. 3 days later, her body was found, but police failed to connect the dots. Both Shauna and Audrey were young women, worked at the same Taco Bell, and were strangled, yet no alarm was raised. Henry's next victim was Valencia Jumper, a 21-year-old college student and friend of his sister. On August 10, 1993, he arrived at her door, claiming he'd fought with Sadie and needed to talk. Valencia, trusting him, let him in. After a long conversation, he convinced her to call Sadie. As she got up to make the call, Henry attacked, choking her until she passed out. He assaulted her, then strangled her with a towel. This time, he deviated from his pattern. Instead of a bathtub, he filled it with rum, placed her body inside, and set the apartment on fire by leaving a can of pork and beans on a heated stove after disabling the smoke detector. The fire destroyed evidence, and her death was ruled as caused by thermal burns. A proper investigation could have revealed the truth, but once again, authorities failed. Henry even attended Valencia's funeral, blending in with the mourners. 5 weeks later, on September 15, 1993, Henry targeted Michelle Stinson, another Taco Bell co-worker and a mother. He visited her home, and they talked casually, while her children slept. As the conversation ended, he hugged her, demanding intimacy. When she refused, claiming she was unwell, Henry grew furious, searching for her supposed medication. Finding none, he attacked her in the kitchen, assaulting and strangling her with a towel. When she fought back, he stabbed her repeatedly with a kitchen knife. During the attack, her 3-year-old son walked in, witnessing the horror. Henry ordered him back to bed, and the boy obeyed. After ensuring Michelle was dead, Henry discarded the towel and knife over a fence and fled. The next morning, her children found her body. A friend, checking on her, asked the boy where his mother was. He replied, "She's sleeping, too young to grasp the truth." The police investigation into Michelle's death was another failure. Henry wasn't even a suspect. 5 women were now dead or missing within a small radius, and fear gripped East Charlotte. Authorities increased patrols, forcing Henry to lay low, committing minor crimes like shoplifting. On February 4, 1994, he was arrested for shoplifting but released with a court date he later skipped, resulting in a warrant. Yet, police made little effort to find him, and Henry's confidence grew. On February 20, 1994, he targeted Vanessa Mack, a 25-year-old sister of a Taco Bell co-worker. Using his usual tactics, he gained her trust, entered her home, assaulted, and strangled her, stealing her bank card for crack money. Her mother found her body the next day, but police still failed to see the pattern. 3 victims linked to the same Taco Bell. Henry's crack addiction worsened, and his killings escalated. On March 8, 1994, he began a brutal 3-day spree. He first visited his friend Bernice Woods' apartment to rob Bernice's girlfriend Brandy Henderson. When Bernice answered instead, Henry made up a story about leaving town. Later, he targeted Betty Jean Borkham, a Bojangles assistant manager, assuming she knew the safe's combination. He tricked his way in, pretending to need her phone, then choked her, demanding the safe code, keys, and alarm code. Betty resisted for 30 minutes, but eventually gave in. When she bravely confronted him, asking what was wrong and urging him to seek help, Henry snapped, assaulting and strangling her. He stole her TV, VCR, gold chain, and car, pawning them for crack money. 12 hours later, Henry returned to Brandy Henderson's apartment, knowing she was alone with her infant son. He attacked her, demanding money, but found only a Pringles can of change. He assaulted and strangled her, then, when her baby cried uncontrollably, strangled the child with a towel. The baby survived. Henry wiped down the apartment, stole a TV and stereo, and pawned them for crack. Police finally noticed a pattern after 2 murders in the same complex. Comparing cases, they linked them to Henry Louis Wallace. On March 11, 1994, he targeted Deborah Slaughter, a former Bojangles co-worker who used crack. When she refused to split drug costs, Henry attacked her with a towel. She accused him of killing Brandy and Betty, and he didn't deny it. When she fought back, slapping him and screaming, he stabbed her 38 times. He stole $40, returned later, to clean the scene, and left. The next day, police arrested Henry. Initially denying everything, he crumbled under pressure. Asked to list his victims, he wrote far more names than the 4 police expected, revealing at least 11 murders. His confession transformed the case into one of North Carolina's most chilling serial killer investigations. Henry Louis Wallace was born in 1965 in Barnwell, South Carolina, raised by a strict, controlling mother. His father left before his birth, and Henry struggled academically, showing no early signs of violence. After high school, he worked various jobs, served in the Navy, and moved to Charlotte in the early 1990s, where his spree began. His obsession with violence against women started young, sparked by witnessing an assault in the woods, which he found thrilling. This twisted fascination fueled his crimes. Carolyn Love wasn't his first victim. In 1990, he killed Tashanda Bethia, a high school student he knew, dumping her body in a pond. Questioned but not charged, he continued. In May 1992, he killed Sharon Nance, a 33-year-old woman, after a dispute, leaving her body near railroad tracks. For 2 years, he targeted women he knew, exploiting their trust while evading suspicion. In September 1996, Henry's trial began. His defense claimed mental illness and crack addiction impaired his judgment, arguing his crimes weren't premeditated. However, his confession revealed planning in some cases, undermining their case. After 3 months, on January 7, 1997, he was convicted of 9 first-degree murders, receiving 9 death sentences. On June 5, 1998, Wallace married Rebecca Torrijas, a former prison nurse, on death row, with the Mecklenburg County Public Defender as a witness. He appealed his convictions, claiming coerced confessions and constitutional violations, but the North Carolina Supreme Court upheld his sentence in 2000, and the U.S. Supreme Court denied his appeal in 2001. By 2005, his appeals were exhausted. Today, Henry remains on death row, awaiting execution. For the victims' families, justice feels hollow. No punishment can erase their loss. What are your thoughts? Did Henry get what he deserved, or should the death penalty have been carried out immediately? If you want more cases like this, like and subscribe for deeper dives. Thanks for reading.